This video is especially dedicated to all the smokers who are struggling hard and unsuccessfully to quit smoking, and their self-esteem is going down because they think they don't have enough willpower to get it done, or whatever is wrong with them. So why is it so hard to do that? Also, the video is dedicated to everybody who has to deal in some way with alcohol issues, and in general it's dedicated to everybody with a natural curiosity to understand things.
Not everybody has problems with alcohol, and not in the same degree and not with the same type. And the addiction to cigarettes and to alcohol is very similar. I will try to explain that. So, let's start with nicotine. Nicotine addiction exists, but it's a very rare medical phenomenon. There you have these patches which you put on your skin. There is this nicotine chewing gum, and all this should work, but generally people continue to smoke. So they may tell you, well, there is missing the oral stimulation, so you buy these plastic cigarettes with fresh taste, and now you have it all. You have the nicotine, you have the oral stimulation, and does it work? Generally, it does not work. The people continue to smoke. So why is it? Well, truth is, you could inject pure nicotine directly into your bloodstream, and it would almost have no influence at all about your wish to smoke, in case you have this addiction. So this is a clear sign that we are not talking or treating with a nicotine addiction at all, because with all this overdose of nicotine, forcefully it would have to work, but generally it does not. So why is this? What's going on here? Well, let's switch to alcohol, which I said is very similar. And let's take a short look at chemistry. You don't have to understand anything about chemistry to see to what point what I'm pointing at. Just take a look, okay?
This is a 3D representation of a cocaine molecule. Look at this complexity. And this is another representation of a cocaine molecule with its formula, chemical formula C17H21NO4. And here you have powder cocaine on the left and crack cocaine on the right. The difference in the representation is only visible to an expert. This is something completely different. It's an alkaloid. Alkaloids are contained in shamanic drugs. Some of these shamanic drugs contain up to 50 different alkaloids. This is nothing strange. And you can see that these alkaloids are very, very complicated. And with these drugs, the shamans travel to or get in contact with the world of the spirits and search there for the information they need, or do whatever they have to do, and come back then. This is yohimbe. It's another alkaloid, a 3D representation. What happens with these shamanic drugs is that the deadly dose and the effective dose, because most of them have a deadly dose, and the effective dose, they are very close together. So it's absolutely necessary to know exactly well what you're doing when you're taking them. It's not just that you can test them and try them without any knowledge. Okay, now let's get back to alcohol. Here you have it on the upper left, ethyl alcohol. This is what's normally called the alcohol for drinking, more precisely called ethanol, C2H5OH. Very simple. And now the question, how can such an extremely simple molecule cause all the effects alcohol supposedly is causing, like all the sensations, relaxation, euphoria? How is it possible? Such a simple thing compared to all the other stuff seen before. The answer is it simply can't. Ethanol by itself is a narcotizing substance which would leave you deeply unconscious sleeping over the table after consuming it. It can't provoke or cause any of these effects alcohol supposedly causes. What happens is that ethanol, usually known as alcohol, when it comes to the liver, is quickly converted into acetaldehyde. This is it. As you can see, acetaldehyde is also no mysterious substance at all. CH3COH is not, as one might think, C2H4O. No, it's CH3COH. The special thing about acetaldehyde is that it reacts extremely fast and easy with other substances like biogenic amines, which are histamine, dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, noradrenaline, and so on. And together they create complex molecules, and not just some complex molecules, but they combine into opium-like complex molecules. And these molecules then travel through the bloodstream towards the brain, where they connect to exactly the same docking stations where opioids would dock. Going back to the smoking issue, the wrongly called nicotine addiction, acetaldehyde there is contained in the smoke, and the smoke also contains the rest of the substances needed to create these opium-like molecules. So the main difference is that alcohol is converted into acetaldehyde and takes the rest of the substances from the body to create opium-like molecules, while the smoke contains everything, the acetaldehyde and the rest of the substances, and they will combine in the body into these complex opium-like molecules, which then travel to the brain and cause this opium-like addiction. Everybody knows that a cigarette and a glass of alcohol have different effects, but the issue is that the kind of addiction caused by them is biochemically seen very similar. It's almost the same, and it can be called an opium addiction because they are docking at the brain. So this is the heavy degree of this addiction, and this explains why it is so difficult to get rid of this smoking habit. And why isn't this widely known? Well, on one hand, it's a big business to sell all these patches and chewing gums, which are useful only to people who have a real nicotine addiction, which is, as I said, a very rare phenomenon. But the average smoker has no nicotine addiction at all. And so it's business, also for therapists and all this. And on the other hand, which government could explain the population that the jails are full of people who, for smoking or planting or selling THC containing leaves or whatever, while on the other hand it's legal to sell substances like cigarettes and alcohol, which cause in the body opium-like addictions. Not that they contain any opioids, but in the body the opioids are created, and it's an opioid addiction. So this is hard to explain. Okay.
So what happens when someone drinks alcohol to the point to get completely drunk? Let's take a look. This scale represents the level of the substance in the blood. This is acetaldehyde, level 0. Still, these are biogenic amines like histamine, serotonin is the most known, dopamine also. The upper level is limited by the so-called MAOs. MAO stands for monoamino oxidase, because a level too high, for example, of serotonin is bad, as well as a level too low is bad. So the upper level is controlled, regulated by the MAOs. We don't allow this level to pass.
And also you have enzymes, very important enzymes, which will, this stands for, is an E for enzyme, which allow this reaction between these two substances to happen. So you start, or the person starts to drink. Quickly the alcohol, ethanol, is biodegraded in the liver into acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde level rises, okay, and it reacts, assisted by the enzymes, together with the biogenic amines, creating opium-like complex molecules. Okay, so the person continues to drink, the level rises, and from certain level on, the acetaldehyde will block the MAOs. Okay, no MAOs anymore, so the level of biogenic amines in the blood goes up. So now there's more and more acetaldehyde in the blood to react together, assisted by the enzymes to react together with biogenic amines, creating opium-like molecules. And this seems a never-ending story. It goes up and up, and the more acetaldehyde you have, the more biogenic amines you have, and they react together. But what happens from some point on is that the acetaldehyde will block also the enzymes which allow this reaction between the both substances to happen. Okay, so no enzymes anymore, no reaction anymore. What you have now is a high level of biogenic amines in the blood and a high level of acetaldehyde in the blood. And in the case of biogenic amines, this is not a problem, because at short term this high level is not any real problem. But the acetaldehyde is a toxic substance. So having a high concentration of this toxic substance in the blood means that the person is intoxicated. And it takes the liver a long time to biodegrade it into another substance. Long time means, depending on the level, many hours. Okay. So this is what happens in the body, and this is what causes the hangover finally. The high level of acetaldehyde, which will not react with anything, has nothing anymore to react with. Okay.